Welcome back, audience. How you been? Let's begin. Today, I want to dissect the concept of unconditional love. I think that it's one of those beliefs that possibly done a lot more damage than good, if any, actually. Because if someone, it's like with everything, if you are not in a state of unconditional love, and somebody, or you, let's say you've never experienced, and somebody says you should be loving unconditionally, and then you go ahead and try to do this, you create the belief that, oh, I should love unconditionally, but you don't even know what that is. You just have a concept in your brain, I should love unconditionally. Oh, all right. And then you use your brain to figure out of how to love unconditionally. And then what happens? You know, what normally happens? What loving unconditionally implies, if you look at it, it says, okay, loving with no conditions, meaning that you love and it doesn't matter whether it comes back to you or not, right? Am I right? Is that what it says? You love and it doesn't matter whether it comes back to you or not. Okay, is that what people believe unconditional love to be? Is you giving something and you don't expect anything back in return? Now, look, how does it feel that, for example, right? Doesn't it that deny your desires? You know, see, this is what happens like when you go all in into this idea. Somebody told you love unconditionally, right? And then you go, if you go all in, you're gonna be trying to rid of your soul desires, because you're not supposed to ask anything in return, right? You're supposed to just love unconditionally, like you love whatever that means to you, and you ask of nothing in return. Now, what the fuck is that? you know, pardon my French. I think this is furthest away from love. Furthest thing away from love is the concept of unconditional love. Because look at what's going on. And I mean, you do see this, a lot of people, I mentioned in the previous video, call themselves awakened but depressed, or whatever they call themselves. And then I also watch what's going on in like these types of gatherings and whatever, and I watch people. And these people are verily, very gung ho of not needing anything. It's like, you know, like they're not alive. They just keep on trying to just pacify themselves, like, and like just be like, they're like ghosts. There's no passion there, nothing. And they're all working really hard to deny their existence, their desires, which makes their soul. So, if anything, this is killing their soul. And who's benefiting from that? Because you give the energy, that love energy to somebody, right? You ask nothing in return, so you don't get anything in return, and so your soul is dying, because your soul is a definition of your soul desire. That's what makes up your soul, is wanting to create something, wanting to play, or whatever your soul desire. Okay, there's this talk, I don't like these types of terms, but it is super toxic, these teachings that come seemingly from spiritual background or whatever, and these teachings go like, you know trying to stop the desire and say, oh, desire is the problem. I don't think anybody who ever experienced life directly said that even. But anyway, there's just these concepts floating around, and the people listening to these concepts like, oh, I need to stop desiring because the problem is with the desire. No, the problem is that you're really bad at fulfilling your desire. That's the problem. It's not the desire is not the problem. It's that you're so shitty about fulfilling it, and it's because it's not easy. You gotta face your emotions. You gotta go for the journey. You pick the adventure. And it's like sometimes somebody picks the adventure, and once you pick the adventure, man, even though you may say like, well, it's just not real, it's all virtual, but you pick the adventure, and so you can't pull out on that one until it's done, and it's not going to be easy. And what is this? Sometimes people say hard. This is hard. They use the word to um, they use the word that defines the solidity of an object, hardness, right? This is hard. Well, what that hard is your belief that you gotta punch through. You know, that's what hard is. And it's like in the gym, lifting weight, it's hard because you go against the resistance. You know, and sometimes in order to fulfill your desire, you got to go against the resistance, and sometimes you got to go with the flow. It's not, you don't always go with the flow. That's ridiculous. If you ever try, you know, you don't do that. It's always in between. There's occasion where you gotta punch through it, and there's an occasion which you gotta just go with it. And you gotta know which one is. It's a part of the game. Okay. So going back to the unconditional love and what it creates in a human brain as a belief is horrific, man. It destroys lives. And then that energy that people could have actually used to fulfill their desires, whatever that may be, eh, but they feel like, oh, there's just no point because everything against me, so what's the fucking point? So, and then they just give up on it, and it's like, well, I'm just gonna pacify myself with whatever, work really hard of becoming aware of awareness, or whatever the bullshit they come up with. How about try to live your life? How about don't deny your desires? How about try to figure out how to fulfill them? Huh? How about that? And you won't even have a time to become aware of awareness, Everything just will happen. If emotion comes up, then there's a need to become attentive of it, If the need comes up to create something, then you imagine it. And the motion happens on all those levels in your soul, in your mind, in your brain, in your body. The motion is happening. And that's life. Because otherwise they're working really hard to be dead. And that's supposed to be unconditional love. This is one of the most toxic beliefs that's been ever suggested by the Matrix. See, this is why you can never go by whatever somebody else is saying. So going a little bit deeper into this unconditional love, let me share what I see in physics, in metaphysics, in my own consciousness, in nature, everywhere I fucking look, I see the reciprocation. I see the energies reciprocating. There's no such thing as like just giving something and not having anything in return. I don't know what the fuck they're talking about. This is not what I see in anywhere I look. So, there is no love without reciprocation. I don't know what the fuck that is. That unconditional love when you try to love and ask nothing in return. I don't know what the fuck that is. Okay? It's ridiculous. Because you are denying your soul, and I will not stand by it because it's ridiculous. You're trying to kill your soul, and you're using your soul energy. You letting go of your desires, and you're giving that away of that energy to the dark side. That's what you do. So the reason you are toxic of trying to be aware of awareness or whatever the fucking methods you're trying to use to have that unconditional love and chasing that unconditional love, you're actually fueling the other side. That's what you do. You know? And this is the harder way. It's you got to use actively. You got to use willpower to suppress your soul desire, which is your soul. You got to actively suppress your soul. So this is what you do when you try to be aware of awareness or what the fuck you're trying to do with that unconditional love concept or whatever that is. Those concepts that's coming to you. When you're in the gym and you're working out and the muscle is burning, how much thinking you're actually doing? The only way you can cope with this is if you completely and totally become attentive of what is happening in the moment. And so then you can move with it. Then you can cope with it. Then you can do way more than you thought that you could do. As soon as you go into your brain, that's it. Then it's like, oh, fuck, it hurts. And then, and then you let go. And this is like you're trying to use your brain to suppress your soul desire. And when I watch these people, these self-imposing, zombie mode that they are so attracted to deny life and, whatever the fuck. The energy that I feel from them is abyss energy. It's that sickly energy. It's a sick energy. It's not healthy. You look at these people, and none of them are laughing or just being humans. None of them are playful. It's just like they're all like becoming aware of awareness. Fucking stone, or a plant, trying to become a plant. I'm sorry, I'm riffing off this shit today, but anyway, continuing with this. Okay, so then first of all, the love is reciprocating phenomena. If you really want to define love, because love and wisdom, to me, there's two different forces in the constant flux, and that result of them in constant flux dancing, you can call unity or infinity. But there's two forces in one. And that's where the concept is. There's two and one at the same time. And you can't really figure out whether it's two or one. And that's the nuclear reactor, if you will, that core that you would call unconditional love. But I don't know, I don't want to use that word anymore. Because what it really is trying to say is not loving unconditionally, because that's not possible. If you mean in the sense that loving unconditionally is giving your energy away and asking nothing in return. If you do this, you break the law, first of all. But there is something to understand about this. And what I would say could be correct to say is that physically unconditional love, physically unconditional, meaning you may not want anything back physically. That's something that I can see. But that's not to say that you don't want the energy back, because if you do this, you're gonna give away your energy, deplete yourself, feel flat, and you won't be able to give nothing because it's not coming back to you. But that energy has to come back to you. You invest your energy where it's coming back. You have to always put your love where it's coming back to you. Your wisdom where love is coming back, and your love where wisdom is coming back. That's obviously non-physical, because emotion is non-physical. And that's what you want your love to be reciprocated at an emotional level. That's what you want. Physically, whether it's there or not, as long as you can, take care of your body, You don't go into the survival mode. And as long as your body is taken care of, really, as long as your body is taken care of, you don't go into survival mode. And if you don't go in survival mode, the only thing that you need to look for is reciprocation in love and energy. And that's the problem, that sometimes you can be with the person and you energetically, you know, loving the person, but nothing is coming back. Nothing is coming back. And this is where you go like and flat and no energy. And then you try again. It's like, oh, I have to be loving, love more, and nothing's coming back. See, this is as soon as you give out the energy, whatever you may see like love, as love or whatever you name it, but it's your attention, it's your awareness, your energy you're putting there, and it's not coming back. It's non-reciprocation. You don't put energy there anymore. It's very simple. It's very simple, because you would be breaking the law of consciousness of energy reciprocation. This is why you are becoming martyr if you engage in this type of practice of not asking anything in return. You know? So if you can say that physically unconditional, right? Whether somebody does something for me in a physical terms, it may not matter at this point, right? It may not matter. But energetically, that energy has to be reciprocated. And that's one of your soul desires. Love is one of your soul desires, reciprocated love, right? We will call people true love. That's what you want. You want that to be reciprocated. And so this is why you put that energy where it's reciprocated. And you start not giving that energy away when it's not reciprocated, because you're giving your energy away to the dark side. And they, people with ego tantrums get energy from you. And so all the energy that they get from is from the martyrs. They can't make their own energy. If you stop giving away, your empathy to people that don't deserve it, you say like, oh, it's cruel. No, it's not cruel. They need to go on. They chose the dark side. They knew what are the consequences of playing that game, and they have to live up with those consequences. So in fact, you pull away your energy, your attention, awareness from people like that. Okay, and if someone is like really pissing you off, and this way kind of taking your attention and energy, what you do in that moment is that anger that you feel, you don't deny it, you face it fully, but you don't do anything about it. You just feel it as much as possible without interpreting it or whatever. Just becoming attentive and facing it fully. And if you stay with that anger without trying to suppress it or increase it, but you just watch it, it's like you're watching a fire. When a fire is burning, you can just watch it, and you watch the fire burn. That's it. That's all you do. And eventually the fire dies off, and what's left out of that is warmth. And that's what you will feel. You will feel warmth. Where there was anger and rage, after you watch that fire burn, what's left is warmth. That's it. They can't take your energy anymore. You seal that energy leakage. And then you see where it's worth investing your love and your energy, where it is being reciprocated. Okay? And energetically, you will feel it. Emotionally, you will feel it. You may give away some nice vibes to somebody and see what they do. Are they just going to take it and give nothing back? Like emotionally, you can feel it, because there is a type of energy. And if that's what they do, then you're dealing with the person with the heart of coal. And the way to deal with the person of heart of coal is to, like I said, if it pisses you off, seal it, That's it. Do not give any kind of energy, and because they need to go on their own journey. Basically, you know, they need to do their own thing. They need to decide that perhaps it's too difficult to play the villain, because that's what's happening right now. It's becoming too difficult to play a villain in this video game. And the first thing you do is you isolate, just like that butterfly and the caterpillar cells. When the butterfly cells start appearing, they isolate themselves from the caterpillar cells, because if not, the caterpillar cells attack the butterfly cells, right? So that's what you do. You cut off the energy supply. It's really, in a big scheme of things, this game is about energy management. If you manage energy well, like even physically, like moving objects from one place to another, that's energy manipulation, energy management. Imagination, that's energy management. Emotions, that's also energy management. If you learn how to manage the energies of those three levels, as they call it, three joysticks of life, you start being better and better at fulfilling your desires, because that's the point. And as your desires are on the way of being fulfilled, you really enjoy that fact. And all sorts of process what happens. The first, there's this, you go for the desire, then there's a denial of the desire, then you gotta deal with whatever emotions that brings, and then eventually there's a fulfillment of the desire. There's just a process, natural process. Okay, but that's what they have to say about unconditional love being the most ridiculous concept to try to live by. And I think the only thing that I can think of, like, of this thing, because everywhere I look, if you can say conditions, and if you mean conditions like physical conditions, where no matter if the physically arrangements like is in a such way, and you may have a desire like to have to live in a nice house, but you live in a small apartment. That's a condition, right? And if you don't pay attention to the physical condition, unconditional in that sense, then okay, fair enough. Or then, for example, or you can even, for example, have a connection with somebody, and you feel a connection on emotional level, and there is a reciprocation on emotional level, but that person may not do anything physical. But as long as there's an emotional reciprocation, that's okay, because you move the energy, and energy is coming back to you. That's connection. That's, you have those types of connections. Whether a person even talks to you or does something for you doesn't matter, because I think that's what people mean by the conditional, right? But there are conditions in in your mind. There are conditions in your soul, and everything is lawful and conditional in its own level. So even the word unconditional is a bit of a misnomer, because you can be more specific about this and say, regardless of physical conditions. Now that would be a little bit more accurate, because everything has a cause and effect, right? Everything has cause and effect. And even if you talk about the infinity and say, well, there's no cause, there's no any kind of mechanical thing that caused that to happen, okay, you can call it spontaneity. But spontaneity is real. Something spontaneous is still, like, you can even say, like, well, it's just like uncertain, and then as you are nearing towards the culmination of it, it just becomes solid and certain, right? From that don't know what the hell is going on to exactly, exactly what's going on. That process from the complete spontaneity into the certainty. So if somebody like dancing and they don't know what the next move they're going to do, um, there's this spontaneity. You can say there's this spontaneous energy that is moving. But once the move is done, it's something very specific and concrete, you know. And so if somebody else wants to kind of imitate that and say, oh, I want to dance like that, and then they copy the moves, and then that moves from the memory, and that's not spontaneity anymore, right? Because spontaneous energy that's always flowing in every moment. And if you follow that energy in one day, there's going to be one dance. And if you follow that energy another day, there's going to be another dance. So it's not about copying, you know, one particular spontaneous dance that somebody did. It's about tuning into that energy, spontaneous energy, and expressing it like that. But even that, like, you can call it that is unconditional, because there's nothing conditioned in your body except the capacity to move, that caused that motion to happen. But the motion did happen, and it did come from field of spontaneity, or infinity, if you will. The element of surprise, that's where it came coming from, whatever. But you can name that stuff too. And you can say, like, well, it's just sort of like this space from where the surprise is coming from, you know. Okay, you can name it like that, but you still know that there is this energy from which that surprise is coming from. It still has a reason of why it happened. Therefore, I don't see anything so-called unconditional happening ever. Everything is absolutely lawful, everything absolutely perfect. And if you have time enough and you want to investigate this, you can totally see how it is indeed actually lawful. And you know, and with the left brain you can actually see and see the steps of how it's happening, and with the right brain you can intuit of you know, why would, for example, it happen in one way or another, like why this particular pattern that happens. And then you will discover the natural patterns, which you can call wisdom, because universal and natural patterns is wisdom. And this is why, like, when you have this universal natural pattern of wisdom, and then this energy, and then infinite flux between the two, it's like a kaleidoscope of infinite fractals that keep on being created like that, you know. It's a fountain of that, because those structures that are universal keep on always being expressing in an infinite way. It's never ending, it just keeps on going. So something that is unchangeable and something that's ever changing, creating that kaleidoscope of those energies. But that's not something that, you know, sometimes people say, well, you can't really know it or whatever. I think they really mean that you can't, you know, even if I describe it, these are just words. It may or may not correspond to the feeling, you know. But it's just a label that is referring to that core principle. Therefore, true love is reciprocated. It's not something that is unconditional. Because I've been to that abyss, you see, I bought into that nonsense. And no matter how much I tried, it seemed like I'm actively trying to deny existence of my soul desires. And the moment I stopped doing that, I realized what a fucking loads of bullshit. Life is not complicated if you just accept the fact that you are in the game and you must play it. That's the only rule that you gotta accept. You are in the game and you must play it. And you say, I don't want to. No, that's it. You signed up for it. You got to play it. If you don't play it, then you will feel very bad. I mean, you can always check out, but it's not going to end. That's the thing. You can check out from the physical, but that's not going to end. And look, there's many different games here to play. And the reason it may sound like it's kind of forceful that I must play it, it's kind of don't I have a free will? I must play. Well, the thing is that what you really want to do, if you can actually fulfill that, and you know how to actually get it done, that is the most natural and the most satisfying thing for you. So if you would be in that type of motion of following your bliss and fulfilling your desire, it would not feel that anything is forcing you to do it, because you would be, you know. So I think a lot of people are like, they jump into this game, in this game of life. It's like a child jumping in the water, and then first, like, freaking out, and doing all sorts of things, fighting, because I don't want to drown. But then the second you realize that, holy shit, if I just use a little bit of energy, I float. Oh, fuck. And it's not that difficult. And I can float here, I can float here, and it's easy. I think it's just that a lot of us still have that shock reaction to being immersed into this video game reality and still just trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. Because there's a lot of things, especially in the digital world, is trying to take your attention and program you wrong way of living this life, which you can say that, okay, that increases the difficulty of the game, because not only that I have to get into this game, not only that you know that I have to figure out of how to swim, there's all these people that keep on poking with the sticks and telling me, that it's okay for me to splatter all around. Or just stop listening to that and then just let me figure out what's going on myself. But this video, for example, would be a little bit like a map to you. Say, hey, check this map out, follow it, and see how it works out for you. Try the opposite way, of course, if you want, but sometimes you don't have to. For example, if somebody, for example, spend through trial and error to do something millions of times, and then they figure out what works, and then they come to you and say, like, hey, I tried millions of times and this what works, maybe, and you can try it, and if it works, then you can say, holy shit, like, I didn't have to go through the trial and error. I got this piece of thing, I tried it and it works, Then I can try the opposite of it. See, that shit doesn't work. And then, through your experience, it's still your own experience. Nobody told you that it is so, and then you believed it because you tried it. And this way would be the smarter way to play this game. Okay. I think that's it. Yeah. There's no such thing as unconditional love. It's a misnomer that means the opposite of what love is. In fact, I almost see that there needs to be like rehabilitation for people from unconditional love. I don't know, whichever way you look at it, I just cannot see how you can skip this. And, sure, I suppose like you would be like giving up on your soul, I suppose, right? You're giving up on your life, on your soul. When your soul desires something and you deny it actively, I still don't see, you can pretend to be, the awakened person all your life. And at the end of the life, you will probably realize, oh my God, I just suppressed all my desires and I just wasted my life. I could have enjoyed my life. This is what these seekers end up experiencing. And then maybe next life they come in and say like, yeah, no, I tried that shit. I'm not gonna do that shit. I'm just gonna enjoy my life. You know? And as long as you enjoying your life, challenges come along. You know how to deal with them. Even that becomes enjoyable. As long as you're enjoying your life, then you are in exactly where you need to be. There's no problem. You don't need to seek anything. You know, you're not trying to deny something. You're not saying like, well, I don't need a man, I don't need a woman. You're honest with yourself. You say, well, I don't need the money, or or the opposite, I can't live without man, I can't live without woman, or without money, I'm not nobody. All these extremes that you're clinging on is is always these like coping mechanisms. But when you stay in between and don't deny these things, like I do have a desire, to have a partner. That's the desire. All right, then that's the type of relationship I want, and I'm gonna go for it. Or you say, well, I don't really need money for the sake of money. My identity is not attached to money, but I do need money to get something created that I want to create. So, right, so I'm gonna get exactly as much money as I need to feel free, rather than accruing a fortune that just doesn't do anything. So, like, how about just finding a way of how I can always have enough money to create what I want to create? So there's no denial. There's no clinging to one side or the other. And in the middle, there's always reciprocation. You see, and it's almost like your duty not to let anybody to take. And even for example, in the physical world, right, in the business game, you got to make sure that there is equal exchange of value happening there. You got to make sure there's equal exchange of value in your soul, equal exchange of value in your mind, and equal exchange of value in your physical. You've got to make sure this, right? Like in your family circle or in your social circle, you may say, well, you may give a gift and say, well, I don't, whether this person gives me back anything or not, I don't really care. I don't, I don't want this, because that's a different game. It's more like a family and social circle type of game, because it feels good to give a gift, you know. And the reciprocation of their energy is that you feel good inside you. You give a gift and you feel good. So there's still reciprocation happening. You can't avoid that. But when you go into the business games, the rules are different. You know, if you're gonna be too giving in a business game, they're just gonna fucking take your shit and say, well, what a stupid ass, businessman. So don't confuse the games, and you know that where's this friendship, where's this business, where's this family, and play the games the way you're supposed to be played, and everything's gonna be all right. Anyway, that's it for today. Peace. See you in the next one.